Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Inside the Tauntaun, a Star Wars podcast where we get to the guts of what makes Star Wars meaningful to us. I'm Melissa Simmons, and I'm joined today by my two pals, Dino Nicandros.
I have returned.
And Daniel Dawson.
Hello there.
Today, we are having our very first book club episode where we will be talking about...
My ass.
Wow.
We're going to talk about...
I'm sorry. Okay.
This is literally why I write it out, because that's me all
No,
the...
I've just never seen Alyssa have a meltdown before, so I'm enjoying this.
It's because I'm so on edge about this damn job that I may or may not get.
STEM job.
Oh, sorry.
That's the way I run. I'm not even worried about jobs. I just am worried about life, I guess. 'Cause
I'm keeping all of this.
I
in, by the
literally
way, so-
cannot remember.
Today, we are having our very first book club edition, and we will be talking about The High Republic, Light of the Jedi, which is a book written by Charles Soule. Today, we will be covering Part 1, The Great Disaster. And by God, we're Star Wars fans.
I thought they smelled bad on the outside.
Star Wars Inside the Tauntaun. This is our podcast opening song. Alyssa, Daniel, and Dino talking about Star Wars. Like and subscribe.
Well, welcome back, Dino. We missed ya.
Oh, we missed you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Special thank you to Luke Monday for heroically stepping in.
He's way better than that Tuesday guy.
He's better than Luke Tuesday.
Yes.
Don't get me started on Luke Thursday.
Oh,
Oh, God. Guys, we're back inside the Tauntaun.
yes. It's
Oh,
been so long since we've talked about anything Star Wars.
Star Wars.
It's
Wow.
so cozy and moist in here.
And we find ourselves in an interesting position of having to step in and out of the Tauntaun with great frequency now, because Marvel, now that the train has started rolling, refuses to stop. So
So if this becomes a situation where you only listen to every other episode that we release, that's totally fine by
That's
us.
okay.
We
That is
are
okay.
we are enjoying all of the brand new content, and we're excited to talk about it.
Gift. It is a gifted time
It's a
to
bountiful
us. Bountiful to the
time.
nerds.
yes, there's great plenty.
Yes.
Indeed.
Nerds aplenty.
But we have been planning this book club
For 1,200
edition
years.
for a really long time. This Light of the Jedi came out back in January.
Yeah, and I was so excited that I was so blessed. By all of our good friend Chris Villan happened to get a copy of it before it actually came out, and I was like, oh,
Lucky duck.
woo woo! Doesn't matter.
And I think the most miraculous thing about this book is that Daniel is reading it.
Daniel
guys,
is reading the actual text.
I read letters and words, and I put them together and made a story in my head. And,
It's incredible.
and I heard people. I heard them talking, and is that what books are like?
Well, and I have to give you credit, Daniel, because I'm listening to it.
Oh,
A great shout out to Mark Thompson, who is Star Wars narrator extraordinaire.
good old
He's
Mark.
so freaking good.
So unbelievably good.
Yeah, I'm doing a combo. So I'm reading some chapters and listening to some chapters.
Gotcha.
And that's
And I'm
really...
just doing it the old-fashioned way because I'm 4,000 years old.
Of course.
I am. But yeah, I ironically enough, I guess, is that irony? I don't know. I'm.
I'll teach you about it someday.
Thank you, Alanis.
Don't
Morissette
listen
is-
to Alanis. She's a
nah,
liar.
she screwed up my mind. I don't know. Yeah, I was the first to finish this section, which is insane.
You were by a country mile too. I was meandering.
But none
Yeah,
of that
so-
matters.
Yeah, so today we're just going to be talking part 1 of the book.
Yes. Mhm.
And then our next book club episode, we'll do part 2.
Yeah, so we're doing a synopsis, so this is obviously a massive spoiler alert. So if you haven't read the book yet, or if you are
Just
going
of
to,
this first section.
Just of the part
one.
one.
Yes.
Yeah.
We thought it would be helpful not only to ourselves to give us time to read it, but also for you if you haven't even picked it up yet, or if you are reading slowly and want breakdowns as you go. This will be a good format for you. If you like to read it all at once, I don't know why you're here.
Yeah.
So we're going to read this little synopsis that was actually, I just completely stole it from fandom.starwars.com. So, which is a really fun place for all things Star Warsy. So we're just going to get going with this, and then we'll chat about part 1 of the book. Sound good?
That sounds just fine. I'll take it.
All right, let's
Commence.
do it. I shall begin. The freighter Legacy Run under Captain Hedda Cassett is making a routine run into the Outer Rim territories, carrying around 9,000 passengers who are moving to the edge of the galaxy. Captain Cassett goes on her evening rounds, scolding young Serge Ukarian
Surge!
for trying to access age-inappropriate hollows, little stinker, and checking
Space
to make
porn.
sure...
Yeah, it's
Yes.
basically space porn, absolutely.
And checking to make sure a shipment of volatile liquid Tabana is properly secured.
I would name my daughter Tabana. It's a beautiful word.
Yeah, it's kind of sounds like a sister of
Name her
Tatiana.
after a space gas, Daniel?
Space. Well, that's very
She's
on brand for
explosive.
Daniel. Just after she returns to the bridge, however, something almost impossible happens. An obstacle in hyperspace, dead ahead, with seconds to impact. Cassett tries to steer the Legacy Run around the obstacle, but the starship's great age, over a century, catches up with it, and she only has time to seal the passenger compartments before dying, as the Legacy Run is ripped apart.
In the Hetzal system, Scantech's Mervyn Getter and Vel Karan are respectively doing and not doing their jobs on board the Outer System Monitoring Station when they are jolted into awareness by the sudden detection of multiple exits into real space. The new arrivals aren't scheduled, and the two quickly realize the star system is in grave danger. They manage to send a warning back to Hetzal Prime, but their space station is atomized before they can reach their shuttle.
I'm just going to say really quick that when I go poop, from now on, I'm going to call it multiple exits. Okay, I digress. On Hetzal's surface, Minister Zephyrin Eka is advised of the disaster taking place within his system. With the help of the young technician Kevin Tarr, they are able to send out a distress signal to the Galactic Republic. A call which is answered by Jedi Master Avar Chris? I think that's how I was saying it in the book.
Avar?
I think it's Avar.
Is it Avar? I always say the damn
It's
names wrong.
okay. You're reading it.
Avar Chris on board the Emissary Classic Republic Cruiser Third Horizon, in transit from the Starlight Beacon space station. When the cruiser arrives in the system, its complement of Jedi vectors and Republic longbeams launches, with those on board spreading out to assist the system in any way possible while Chris coordinates the effort from the Third Horizon's bridge.
Jedi Master Loden Greatstorm and his Padawan, Bel Zedifer, are among the first to reach the surface of Hetzal Prime to help the citizens evacuate. They encounter a gated compound where armed guards are keeping a desperate crowd away from a starship. Greatstorm utilizes his identity as a Jedi to persuade the guards to allow the many settlers begging to be let on board to escape with the family who resides in the mansion, after he and Bel repel a group of would-be pirates. Meanwhile, a group of vectors piloted by Jedi Teami, Mikkel Sutmani, and Nib Asek, accompanied by her Padawan, Buryaga Agaburi, work with Republic Longbeam, piloted by Joss and Pika Adrian, aiming to destroy a chunk of debris headed for the fruited moon. However, Buryaga interrupts them after seeing life forms on board. When Avar Chris is informed of this development, she locates 10 such pieces of debris and spreads the word that those people are to be rescued as well.
As the rescue mission continues in space, Captain Finial Bright of the Republic Defense Coalition sacrifices his life so his subordinates, Inamin and Peoples, can evacuate the wounded crew of Solar Array 22X before it explodes. Avar Chris, meanwhile, realizes she has missed something, and a scan of a piece of debris that catches her interest reveals it to be a liquid Tabana tank
Oh my God.
on course for the largest of the system's suns.
Oh, God.
Admiral Kronara fills Avar in on what this means. Since the star is in our class,
Has a bunch of F-bombs in it.
if the tank hits the star, it will nearly double in size and begin emitting radiation lethal to the life forms in the system.
Oh, that's such a bummer. As another evacuation continues, everyone is pooping in this book. As another evacuation continues, Avar calls out to the Jedi in the Hetzel system again, determined to save it. She brings them together in an effort to use the Force to push the tank off its collision course. The effort is immense and exhausting, with some participants, such as Jedi Knight Baraki, dying due to exhaustion. Poor guy. At one point, Avar loses the tank before Estala Maru finds it again. Eventually, the Jedi from across the galaxy joining in, they succeed. The liquid Tabana tank grazes the star's photosphere before tumbling away, heated but intact. Kevin Tarr broadcast the Jedi effort on the HoloNet, ensuring that they unknowingly had a galactic audience. The Hetzel system has been saved.
But it is not over.
Dun, dun, dun.
One day later, the first emergence occurs in the Abdali system. 7 fragments of the Legacy Run appear in the system. 6 pass through harmlessly. The 7th hits Abdali and kills 20 million people. In the aftermath, Lawrence Guerrillo of Guerrillo Technologies decides to relocate his company and employees. However, the convoy is attacked, and not just by any pirates. They are targeted by the Nil. Did I say that right?
Nile.
Nile? Okay.
Yeah.
It's Nihil.
Nihil, the Nile. A particularly terrifying group of marauders that have developed a reputation in recent years for leaving few survivors. Lawrence Guerrillo is not one of them.
We call him Larry.
Good old Larry Guerrillo.
Yeah, that's part 1.
So that's part 1. That was a lot of information. So
Part 1, the disaster. And what a disaster.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, the book
Yeah,
is not a
this-
disaster. You
Just
understand
this-
what I mean.
Yes, yes.
This whole first section reads like an apocalyptic movie.
Oh, totally. Yeah, it's a disaster
like
film.
2012 or it's really harrowing, and it's interesting because as Star Wars fans, we are accustomed to wars being fought in the
Yeah.
stars. And here we find a republic that is, for all intents and purposes, quite peaceful, and
Right.
things are good for the first time, I think, in our consumption of Star Wars.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, isn't like
So when
one
they're
of the
dealing
first
with
three
a,
words
like
all is well or something like that? Or-
Right, yes.
Yeah, all is
So
well
when you're
in
dealing
Hetzel
with,
Prime or something.
Yeah, right.
When you're dealing with a humanitarian disaster, that's kind of a new wrinkle in Star Wars problem solving.
Yeah.
And,
It's
it's very difficult when you don't have anyone to point the finger at just yet.
Yeah.
I'm sure we will get there, but
We've definitely dealt with, planets and star systems being completely destroyed, so that's not new. But like, on a level
but
like,
you don't really see the fallout. Like,
yeah,
you don't experience, like, you seldom get to experience like what people on Alderaan
Yeah.
in the few seconds they had to comprehend what was
You know,
Right.
it sort of reminded me, I don't know about you guys, but it sort of felt
which I
similar
wish
to
they had.
felt similar to Rogue One in that we're getting to know all these characters, and then unfortunately we have to, like, we know
Immediately
what's
say
coming.
goodbye to them.
You know, we know that they are going to be gone.
Yeah.
How for those of you who haven't picked up the book or listened to it on audiobook, how do you two feel about the sort of structure of the book, kind of
I like it.
jumping between all of these different places in the
I mean,
galaxy?
it's not like it's not an unusual structure if you've ever, like, if you read like fantasy novels and things like that, because I mean, it's completely different, but like, for instance, like the Lord of the Rings books, like tend to jump
They
from
jump all
like
over.
there's these chunk of characters that are doing this for one chapter, and then we go to another chapter and it's a completely different chunk of characters that are doing something but at the same time that the other people were doing in the other chapter. So it's mind-boggling at sometimes, but it does make sense. And I trying to structure that, wrapping my head around how the writers were able to do all that.
Yeah, I want to commend Charles Soule and all of the writers that are on this new, High Republic team, because he had a huge task ahead of him, which is sort of like creating this new Star Wars that we don't know. You know? And to have it feel not expositional as well.
Yeah.
Like, it's still a fun read, and
at the same time to make it feel familiar and
Yes.
keep us rooted in Star Wars lore, but as you said, almost entirely new.
yeah, absolutely.
But we're definitely getting some new flavors, which is cool. I loved the if I remember right, there was they used their lightsabers to power their weapon systems on the vectors, right? That was dope.
Yeah.
I was like, that's cool.
Well,
I've never
and-
seen something like that before, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, you stole one of my thoughts, because the vectors, I think, are a really cool ship design, and they're described as having really minimal controls, and that it's basically
it's the Jedi's job to
it's the Jedi's job
yeah.
to fly it,
Which is
like,
really
to
cool.
really fly it.
Very neat.
Yeah.
And the description of them kind of shooting through the atmosphere, it was basically almost free fall with just very minimal control over them, and how thrilling and
Terrifying,
how
probably, too. For a person
Yeah,
who doesn't
and
know
it
what
kind
they're
of
doing.
it proves disastrous as the Jedi are coming together to kind of solve the calamity. The concentration it takes just to fly one of those, and then add on top of that the physical and psychological burden of having to reach out with the Force to handle something else at the same time.
Yeah. It's a lot.
It shows you like how powerful these Jedi were in their prime.
Oh, another cool little new fun look at the Force is it Avar? I think it was Avar that had the ability to sort of reach out with they described it as sort of like music.
Yes. So this is
Which I really
this
love.
is like this is the point that stuck. I have the passage here where we get such a fascinating look at how different Jedi interpret the Force and how the Force reaches out to them and how they hear it.
Which
in
is
turn.
cool because it makes you feel like it's unique for every person. Yeah.
Right, and there's a great passage here, and I'll read it now. It says, what Avar Kriss heard as a song, Elzar Mann saw as a deep, endless, storm-tossed sea. The Wookiee Buryaga was a simple leaf on a gigantic tree with deep-dug roots and sky-high limbs. Douglas Soonval saw the Force as a huge, interlocked set of gears made of an endless variety of materials from crystal to bone. Bel Zettifar danced with fire. Loden Greystorm danced with the wind. All of the Jedi were the Force, and the Force was all of them. That is the most Star Wars passage.
So
one
That's
beautiful.
could-
so cool.
I saw the
But
Force as
it's
a giant
personal to
crystal
like
toilet.
their interpretations are personal to each of them, which is
And that's the fun thing about this time period too, is because we're getting to meet tons of different Jedi and their Padawan, and
That was overwhelming. I mean, of course, it's overwhelming at any beginning of the book, like that you read, especially a fantasy book, just like
have so many
learning all these
characters
new
introduced.
names and places.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, my brain.
there are a lot of them.
Yeah.
It's a lot. And
Because so far there aren't any recognizable characters. Like we have, I think they spoke of Yoda maybe once. No, did I?
Yeah, he's mentioned a
they
couple
brought
times.
him up. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he kind of gets involved in the action without being there.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll get to that moment in a sec. But Avar Kriss, I find her very fascinating already, and
Yeah,
we
same.
really don't know all that much about her, but she is a powerhouse with the Force.
Yep.
Very clearly. A very cool customer.
And I like that this is it doesn't feel like it's an origin story or anything like that. It's just like we are just picking up like on a really, pivotal moment in these people's lives, basically. Yeah.
And I find her super interesting because she doesn't seem like a retread on any Jedi we've been introduced before.
Potentially, yeah.
And we're going to need more information, but she feels like a really unique and important voice in the Jedi Order.
And the people that have read the whole book, they're all like, ha ha, because she probably dies in the next chapter or some shit. I really hope
she's
not.
on the cover of the book. She can't die.
She can't.
You're right. You're absolutely right, because nobody's ever done that before.
Yeah. So, what other than Avar Kriss, what were some other characters that stood out to y'all?
Well,
there's a lot of them. So
lots
and
of
we don't
characters stood out.
like you said, Dino. We don't really know a ton about most of them so far.
Yeah, because I think it was good, because I think it would have been a little overwhelming because they didn't spend a whole lot of time describing each character and where they came from and why they think the way they think. They're just this is how they're reacting to this particular moment in time, and that was, I think, good writing.
I've got to say I'm a big fan of the dynamic between Loden Greystorm and Bell Zettifar.
You took the words right out of my
Yeah,
mouth.
those are my favorent characters too.
Yeah, it felt like that. For whatever reason, it felt like the most familiar, because it kind of does feel a little like Anakin and.
But kind of, like Anakin and Obi-Wan,
Yeah,
but I kind of think it's in the reverse,
Oh,
where
yes.
where Loden is Anakin,
Right.
And Bell Zettifar is Obi-Wan, constantly perplexed by his master, because
Yes.
there's one passage where he's describing how Loden is a very active teacher, or rather makes Bell a very active participant in learning.
Yeah.
And they're piloting this vector towards the surface of the planet, and Loden just jumps out.
He's like, "Oh, bye,
and
see ya."
and tells Bell, "Just it's all yours now." And there's another situation
Land the plane, Bell.
where they're fighting the guards outside of this compound, and Loden looks to Bell and says, "Protect me," and he disengages his lightsaber and goes into forced meditation. And Bill's like, "What?
I need you."
So
Yeah,
I kind of love
a
that
great dynamic.
He puts so much trust in his Padawan, and Bell describes it as every single day is absolutely exhausting, because it's one trial after another.
It is great. He does. It's like because he knows that that's the only way not the only way, but maybe what he believes is the best way to teach his Padawan these lessons, is to just kind of push the baby out of the nest.
Let him figure it out.
And just let him figure it out. And then, but make it feel like he's on his own, but also giving keeping a close eye so that he can swoop in and save the day if he needs to, kind of thing.
Right.
But yeah, I loved that dynamic. Also, I just want to say that I mean, the part one is called The Disaster, so I knew that something bad was going to happen, but regardless, the end of the first, was it the first chapter, I guess, or the first section at least, when the Legacy run just blew up or whatever, it was just oh my god, all those poor people.
Well, and the feats of heroism on board the Legacy run, where they're trying to divert its path while at light speed.
Yeah.
And they almost do it.
Right.
But just the imagery of hitting something in light speed.
Yikes.
Yeah.
And we've seen it.
Yeah, we did.
In
the Last
Jedi.
Right.
And so you can imagine just the calamity. And then for people to have
devastation.
survived that, and then the people on board these kind of transports, which are now effectively debris,
Right.
they are now the weapons that are going to destroy.
You know what? You just blew my
the
mind just
Hetzal
now.
system.
That moment that happened, did that cause? I'm wondering if in The Last Jedi, what's her face caused an equally terrible disaster and just murdered billions of people because she did that.
Well, she wasn't in a she wasn't in a hyperspace lane.
Right.
So,
I suppose that's different, right? Because we don't
So-
know. Because this is fun too. Because like I think in this book we're getting a better idea of of how hyperspace works, because they haven't really
Right.
just like described it in full detail. So I'm interested to get more details as to how it works. But
there is like a set traffic system.
yeah, but like I guess
to-
she was like when you're first going into warp speed or hyperspace, like I guess it's more like an on ramp maybe, and then you eventually reach
Right.
the the lanes. I want to know how that works.
And to be fair, like when it happens in The Last Jedi, she immediately collides with something. So,
Whoops.
but yeah, very very a very interesting disaster. As we said at the top, it varies greatly from something like the Death Star or just detonating a planet. This has implications after the fact, because this is, I imagine, there's going to be some kind of disruption in hyperspace travel and hyperspace lanes, and at this time the Republic is still expanding, so that will have serious consequences.
And I think it's it definitely has a different impact when you have like an evil empire that's going around killing a bunch of planets. Like, oh sure, that makes sense. But like somehow it's like more tragic when it's like an accident.
Right.
And like and it's these, and the other thing that's really fun and interesting is that we're not just like, because like when they first encounter whatever these objects are that are falling out of space, they think that they're just like meteors or random objects, but then they realize that there's people on there and that they have to like somehow save those people before.
Yeah, they can't just destroy the thing.
Yeah. So it's such a cool like extra layer to that.
Yeah, definitely. The stakes are very high.
Yeah.
Now. And
they couldn't be higher, really.
Yeah, and I'm really fascinated to see how, because if you don't know much about the High Republic sort of collection or whatever, all the stories happen in this same kind of time frame at different points, in different places of the galaxy.
Right.
So I was able to snag the comics, one through 3. The fourth one is released in like the first week of April. So 1 through 3 are headed to me in the mail, and it'll be really interesting to kind of like meet the characters in the comics and see how things are going from all of these different character perspectives.
Am I right by saying, because I remember listening to that or watching that cool little, I guess it was a documentary
with all the authors.
Yeah, where they're talking about like, just it's basically everything sort of kind of starts with this disaster and then branches off, right? Like every story that they're telling is kind of coming from
a different
moment.
viewpoint on this event,
which is a really clever and interesting way to do that. I don't think it's ever been done, or at least not on this level. Not in this,
and there's loads of material. I mean, there's like the young adult book, and then the kids books, and the
porn,
comics.
Really great porn.
Well, this is the aspect of the prequels I really liked, and funny enough, it's kind of what a lot of people didn't like about them, and it's the geopolitics, like the political ramifications of something like this, and as we said, you see the Republic kind of in a new era. It's expanding at greater speeds than it ever has before, but the Republic at this time doesn't have a standing military. It has a defense force, kind of cobbled together, but there is no Grand Army of the Republic that can show up at a moment's notice to address a situation like this. And think about how much time it takes for just one cruiser to show up and several Jedi on board, which does prove to be enough. But how do you deal with galactic-wide threats without a clone army or So as good as things are right now, you could see how this could get pretty dicey to deal with.
Well, okay, and here I don't. I was just thinking in my head. We didn't really get a description of what what they ran into, like in hyperspace, right?
What do you mean? Like the
What the Legacy Run collided with?
Yes.
Was it another ship?
They didn't say. I don't remember them saying. So that is a mystery that remains to be solved. And I that's what
I mean, there's foul play here.
Yeah,
somebody planted something.
An evil plot afoot, and I
dare say the Nile.
Yeah, because I mean, we're obviously like we've been introduced to the Nile being like sort of the big baddie of this High Republic. I mean, they're one of the big baddies, I guess, because there's numerous, but yeah, it's like I'm trying to figure out if it was like the hyperspace was somehow sabotaged in some way that they knew would cause great havoc.
Yeah, there's something going on that we don't know about yet.
Spooky dookies.
And what I liked about the jumping around too was,
if you don't like this
some of
chapter,
these vignettes,
just wait for a second. You'll get something new.
So some of these vignettes, I mean, proved to be probably inconsequential as far as the overall story, but
yeah, especially the
like
ones that already died.
Right. Well, that's what I mean. Like the scan text, Mervyn Getter, we get like several pages of him talking about this date he wants to go on with the bartender.
Oh, yeah.
That was sad.
It was
and that he goes to this cantina 4 times a night and wants to see her. And then moments later, he's dead.
Yeah, that was one of those moments, though. It's just like, oh, that bitch is gonna die. It's just like when, like
but,
in movies,
like extrapolate that out by 100 million people, and
it's like in those disaster movies when, like the wife and husband are like, oh, we have our very first child. I'm so happy. What are we gonna name her? Oh, we're gonna name her Dabana. And then, the second you name the baby, dead.
You have given it the black spot.
That's it. You can't name the baby in the movie, otherwise you're dead. 100%.
But I just like getting the perspective on. You kind of get 2 sides of the coin of the breakdown of law and order during a crisis like this. So you have Minister Eka, who is being a really strong and good leader and trying to keep everyone calm.
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, we have that compound where the bureaucrat has his ship, and he's not letting refugees on.
Mm-hmm. What a dick.
And then you just have this free-for-all scrum to
just madness.
Of panic and death. And again, that's not something we've really gotten to see in Star Wars, at least as far as the movies are concerned.
They started kind of like dipping their toes into it with like the Canto Bite thing, where like they have like the wealthy and privileged and
right, a little bit, yeah.
The class, the class issues, but yeah, this was the seeing it in very stark contrast, like the more privileged people like being able to escape the planet, and the other people being like, please take us with you.
And you're gonna have a galactic refugee crisis because this is going to affect other systems. I assume. I mean, it's been foreshadowed that this is going to be a problem for others, and how the Republic responds to that, and the strain it puts on the Jedi, who at this time are very numerous and are very active and are generally very well liked too. They interact with people. They're kind of celebrities almost.
Yeah, I kind of, not to bring it back to Marvel, but they kind of felt to me like how people view the Avengers.
Yeah. I can see that, totally.
Like there's this group of like all-powerful beings, and everybody kind of knows who they are, and it's like this excitement and hubbub behind what they do. So
well, and it's such a far cry from the Jedi of the prequels, who are declining in numbers. There's distrust. They are less equipped to deal with, say, the separatist movement.
They're blinded by their...
Blinded, yes. They're very disillusioned. And you have to wonder if the High Republic era starts to lay the groundwork for that. They get
probably.
So confident in the feats they can achieve
Look at the feats we have. Oh my God, we have
That,
such good feats.
That they get in over their heads, and that's where the arrogance blinds them, and the Sith are able to
Take
kind of sneak in through the
advantage.
cracks.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm very, very excited. So how many people died in this first part? Like over 20 million, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved that. Like, I mean, fuck, it was like so dark that like, 20 million people dead was a relief.
Right.
Like, wow.
I know.
Right.
Oh
right.
my gosh.
It was like we were talking with Chancellor So, and we gave her the numbers, and while she's concerned, she's relieved. I'm like, oh my gosh.
That's relieved. That many people. Yeah. Oof. I am really excited to keep reading and listening, and yeah, I'm just
I'm excited to be reading. What?
Yeah, that's impressive, Daniel.
I'm very impressed.
Very impressive. But
I think it's nuts what the Jedi pulled off.
yeah.
This was a new look at the Jedi in general, that not only the Jedi in the Hetzal system, while flying their vectors and doing various other activities, were able to reach out with the Force and stop the Tabana gas canister or diverting it away from the sun. But it was not only them, but talks about Yoda reaching out from wherever he was. So Jedi at this time are able to reach out across the galaxy, kind of like we see Luke in Last Jedi.
As sort of
when
like
he
a hive
projects
mind.
himself.
Yeah, to all connect to other Jedi to work together.
That's pretty
cool.
nuts.
But and it's
I mean-
interesting too, because like, am I right by saying that they're kind of able to do that only because they're like channeling themselves through Avar Kriss? Am I crazy? Because like that's her power.
Yeah, yes. And this is addressed in... That specific power is actually addressed in one of the Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic games, and it's called
cool.
Battle Meditation,
Oh.
where you have a Jedi who is basically an antenna of Force power and is able to, as you said, Daniel, focus Force abilities to achieve one strategic goal. Or
That's like such an OP thing, and it like makes
Yeah.
sense that like, I mean, like,
but it tells you how like strong they are collectively, because that same power was used by Luke and it killed him.
right.
Right.
And Luke and Luke is a powerful Jedi, but he has nothing on these people.
right.
I mean, this is the heyday of the Jedi,
Yeah.
truly. So that's really cool.
And I guess you
And
can
it
sort
killed
of
it-
say that Rey kind of maybe sort of did the same thing at the end of the movie.
Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, that one. Sort of, not really.
Well, I mean, her deal was transferring life force.
Well, oh yes, no, I know, but like just hearing the voices of all the past.
Oh,
Jedi
I
and
see
then
what you mean.
sort of,
Yes,
like
channeling that.
that
I am all of the
into,
Jedi. Yeah.
You know
This could be a further explanation of what
what happened there,
I am all the Jedi.
because
Yeah.
they all reached
Is-
out to her.
That feels
And,
to me
like,
like a
helped
lot
her.
like Avatar, The Last Airbender.
Sure,
Because
sure,
like
sure.
Aang and Korra, like all of them are able to sort of channel the energy and divinity from the previous avatars.
Oh man, I love that
So
show
that's
so
so
much.
good. All right. Well, any other thoughts on part
Thoughts and
one, the
feelings?
disaster?
Tragic day.
Yeah, I'm excited to get going, and
Let's reach the second part. Like, let's do it now.
if you're along for the journey with us, chime in on
The social media.
on what you like about this new Star Wars storytelling, and if you're ahead of us, which many of you probably are, actually, don't.
Yeah, I can't wait till we finish. Then we can like maybe start talking about like where we think where it's going, because I
Yeah,
think that
for sure.
just the last thing for me is that this does feel like a dope like foundation point, like
Yeah, just let me know when you want me to start my outrageous Darth Plagueis theories.
Oh boy,
So-
here we go. I'm right there with you,
So
buddy.
you just let me know when you're ready for that.
I'm 100% with you on that. Jeez.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, cool. Well, that was part one of the Light of the Jedi. Thanks for listening in.
It felt so good to be inside the Tauntaun.
Yes,
again.
we're back in
It's so
here.
warm in here.
We love it. We love you all.
Moist.
Let us know if you have thoughts, feelings, anything at all about the first part of the book.
Even just
thanks.
what you ate for breakfast today.
Yeah,
just let
tell
us know.
us.
Yeah.
Tell us. Thanks so much for listening. This is Inside the Tauntaun, a Star Wars podcast. I'm Alyssa Simmons.
And I'm Daniel Dawson.
And I'm Dino Nicandros.
May the Force be with you.
Always.
Hiya!